The door stayed open longer than it should have. I could feel it. That moment when someone realizes they've misjudged the room they walked into. My sister's smile cracked first. Not fully, just enough. Her husband's eyes moved from my face to the nameplate on the desk, then back to me again. I didn't stand. I didn't greet them. I kept my hands folded, calm, like this was exactly where I belonged. Because it was. For a second, nobody spoke. The air felt heavy. Thick. I let it stretch. My sister finally laughed. Too loud. Wow. This place is bigger than I imagined. She said it like she was doing me a favor. Like she hadn't told me 2 days ago that my presence would make a family barbecue. Stink. I nodded once. Close the door. Her husband hesitated, then did it. The click of the latch sounded final. I watched his jaw tighten. He already knew something was wrong. Men like him always sense when the power math doesn't add up. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. If you've ever been treated like this by family, hit like and subscribe. Because this story proves what happens when you stop staying silent. I slid the folder in front of me a few inches forward. Not toward them. Just enough so they noticed it. My sister leaned against the chair without sitting. She'd always done that. Never fully committing. Always ready to leave before consequences arrived. So, she said, crossing her arms, are you working here now or something? Working? I almost smiled. I own this floor, I said. My voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. And the two below it. Her husband let out a short breath. Not a laugh. More like air escaping a punctured tire. I watched his confidence drain in real time. It was subtle. But I knew him well enough. He'd spent the last year making sure I knew my place. Or what he thought it was. My sister shook her head slowly. No, that's not funny. I'm not joking. Silence again, this time heavier. Her husband stepped forward, hands in his pockets trying to recover control. Listen, he said, we're here about the proposal. There must be some misunderstanding. Proposal. That word. I leaned back in my chair. The leather creaked softly. You mean the expansion project you pitched last month? The one you bragged about landing because of your connections? My sister's eyes flicked to him, fast, sharp. He swallowed. Yes, he said. That. I picked up the folder and opened it. Papers. Clean. Labeled. The kind of preparation that doesn't happen overnight. Your proposal was denied, I said. By me. My sister's mouth opened. Closed. She stared at him now. You said it was approved. He didn't look at her. I said it was likely? Likely, I repeated. You also said I wouldn't matter. That I was just family. That did it. My sister spun toward him. What does she mean? I stood then. Slowly. I wanted them to feel the shift. You walked into my office because you thought you were untouchable, I said. Because you assumed I'd stay quiet like I always do. Her husband's face hardened. This is personal. He snapped. You can't. I can, I said. And I did. I moved around the desk, heels clicking against the floor. Not rushed. Controlled. You excluded me from the barbecue because it was easy. Because everyone else made it easy for you. My sister looked down. I saw it then. The smallest crack of shame. Or maybe fear. Hard to tell with her. It was just a message, she muttered. You always overreact. I stopped in front of her. Close enough that she had to tilt her head up to look at me. You learned that word early. I said quietly. Overreact. That's what you call it when someone finally stops swallowing disrespect. Her husband cleared his throat. We didn't come here to fight. No, I said. You came here to take. I turned back toward the desk and picked up another file. This one thinner. Your company is under review, I said. Irregular invoices, conflicts of interest. Things that get noticed when people stop protecting you. His face went pale now. Not dramatic. Just drained. My sister's voice dropped. You're doing this because of the barbecue. I looked at her then. Really looked. The same girl who used to borrow my clothes and never return them. The same sister who laughed when others made me the punchline. No, I said. I'm doing this because you thought you could humiliate me and still benefit from me. Her husband stepped back. One step. Then another. The room felt smaller. You can leave, I said. Both of you. My sister hesitated. We're still family? I met her eyes. Family doesn't text shame and call it loyalty. They left without another word. The door closed behind them, softer than before. I sat back down and exhaled. Not relief. Just certainty. For the first time in a long while, I didn't feel small. The office felt quieter after they left. Not peaceful. Just still. Like the air was waiting to see what I'd do next. I sat there longer than necessary, staring at the closed door. My hands were steady. That surprised me. I'd imagined this moment 100 different ways, and in most of them I was shaking. Crying. Saying too much. But none of that happened. What I felt instead was clarity. Cold and sharp, my phone buzzed. Mom, I didn't answer. Another buzz. Dad this time. I silenced it and stood up. Walked to the window. 12 floors down, the city moved the way it always does. People rushing. Horns blaring. Nobody aware that something had just cracked open in a family that looked perfectly normal from the outside. I knew the calls would keep coming. They always did when control slipped. By noon, my assistant knocked gently and stepped in. They're asking downstairs if you're available this afternoon. I didn't ask who. I already knew. Tell them I'm booked. She hesitated. All day. All week. When she left, I finally let myself sit again. This time I opened the thinner file. The one that had turned my brother-in-law pale. I hadn't exaggerated. The irregularities were real. I hadn't gone digging out of spite. I'd found them because I'd stopped ignoring things that made me uncomfortable. That started months ago. Before the text. Before the barbecue. Back then, he'd still smiled at me. That tight smile that never reached his eyes. The kind men use when they don't respect you, but think they're smarter than you. He'd brag at family dinners about his deals, his growth, his future. My parents listened like proud investors. My sister sat beside him nodding, absorbing his confidence like it was borrowed power. And I sat there too, quiet, observing, taking mental notes. Because silence doesn't mean ignorance. It just means patience. The phone buzzed again. A group chat this time. Mom, why didn't you tell us you work there? Dad, this is embarrassing. My sister, you didn't have to do this in front of him. I read it twice. Slowly. Not a single apology. Not a single acknowledgement of the message that started all of this. I typed, deleted, typed again. Then erased everything. I wasn't going to explain myself anymore. An hour later, security called. Your family is in the lobby. I closed my eyes for a moment. Send them up. They arrived together. Mom first. Dad close behind. My sister last. Alone this time. Mom looked around my office like she was touring a stranger's home. Why didn't you tell us? She asked, like that was the real betrayal. I gestured to the chairs. Sit. They did. All except my sister. She stayed standing, arms wrapped around herself now. Smaller. Less certain. Dad cleared his throat. You put us in a difficult position. I looked at him. I wasn't aware my job required family approval. Mom frowned. That's not what he means. I know exactly what he means. Silence settled again. I was getting used to it. My sister finally spoke. He's furious, she said. He says you planned this? I nodded. I planned my career. Not his mistakes. Her eyes flashed. You always think you're better than us. There it was. The old accusation. I leaned forward. I think I'm responsible for myself, I said. That's different. Mom shook her head slowly. Family doesn't do this to each other. I met her gaze. Family also doesn't publicly humiliate one member and expect loyalty in return. Dad sighed. It was just a barbecue. No. I said. It was a message. They didn't argue that. Because they couldn't. My sister's voice dropped. If you pull the proposal completely, he could lose everything. I watched her face. The fear wasn't for me, it never was. He should have thought about that before assuming I was harmless. Mom leaned forward now. What do you want? That question used to scare me. Now it felt simple. I want boundaries, I said. I want respect. And I want to stop pretending that silence is kindness. Dad frowned. So you'll destroy his career to make a point? I shook my head. I didn't create his problems. I just stopped covering for him. My sister laughed once. Bitter. You sound just like him. That hurt more than I expected. I felt it sharp and brief, then let it pass. No, I said. I sound like someone who learned. They left soon after. No resolution. No hugs. Just tension carried out into the hallway like unfinished business. That night I didn't go home right away. I walked. Block after block. Letting the city wear me down until my thoughts slowed. I realized something then. I wasn't angry anymore. I was done. The next morning, the official review began. The review moved faster than I expected, not because of me. Because once scrutiny starts, truth tends to surface on its own. By midweek, his name was already circulating in rooms he'd never been invited into before. Compliance. Legal. People who don't smile when they talk. I didn't attend those meetings. I didn't need to. My role was to authorize the process, not interfere with it. That distance mattered. It kept my hands clean and my head clear. My sister didn't call for 2 days. Then she showed up at my apartment unannounced. I knew it was her the moment I heard the knock. Too familiar. Too entitled. I opened the door and didn't step aside. "You can't just come here." She pushed past me anyway. "I don't have anywhere else to go." She sat on my couch like it still belonged to both of us. Like childhood rules applied here. I stayed standing. "He's staying with a friend," she said. "Things are bad." I waited. "They're saying he might be barred from future projects." I nodded once. "That happens." She looked up at me sharply. "You're enjoying this?" I shook my head. "No, I'm accepting it." That difference mattered too. She stood and started pacing. "You could fix this. You have influence." "I have responsibility." She stopped in front of me. "You've always hated him." I met her eyes. "I hated how you changed when you married him." That landed hard. Her voice dropped. "You think I don't see what this is doing to us?" "I think you saw what you wanted," I said, and ignored the rest. She laughed softly. "You sound so calm, like this doesn't hurt." "It does," I said, "just not the way you want it to." She sat again, shoulders slumped. For a moment, she looked younger. Less armored. "Mom hasn't slept," she said. "Dad keeps saying we need to fix this before it goes too far." I crossed my arms. "It went too far when you hit send." Silence filled the room. Then, quietly, "He told me you were jealous." I felt that one. A slow burn behind my ribs. "Off what?" She didn't answer. "He needed you to believe that," I said. "Because if you saw me clearly, you'd have to question him." Her eyes filled. Not fully. Just enough to shine. "You always think you're the smartest person in the room." "No," I said. "I just stopped doubting myself." She stood again, grabbed her bag. "If this ends our family, that's on you." I opened the door. "If it ends, it won't be because of truth." She left without another word. 2 days later, my parents asked me to come to dinner. I almost said no. Almost. Their house looked the same. Same furniture. Same framed photos. A timeline of selective memory. I sat at the table where I'd learned to stay quiet early. Mom served food we barely touched. Dad finally spoke. "They're recommending termination of his contract." I nodded. I read the report. Mom's voice trembled. "Can't you intervene?" "No." Dad's jaw tightened. "You're being stubborn." I met his gaze. "I'm being consistent." Mom wiped her eyes. "We raised you better than this." That sentence used to break me. Now it just sat there. "You raised me to be responsible," I said. "And to take consequences seriously." Dad pushed back his chair. "So that's it? For me?" I said. "Yes." The decision became official the following Monday. He was removed quietly. No headlines, no spectacle, just a closed door and a signature. My sister didn't text. My parents didn't call. I went to work. I did my job. I slept better than I had in years. Weeks passed. One evening, I got a message from an unknown number. It was him. He wrote, "You ruined everything." I stared at the screen for a long moment. Then typed one sentence. "You did that yourself." I blocked the number. That night, I stood on my balcony and realized something that surprised me. I wasn't lonely. I was lighter. Like I'd been carrying weight that didn't belong to me. The silence that followed wasn't punishment. It was peace. The quiet didn't last forever. It never does when people lose control and start looking for someone to blame. My sister called 3 weeks later. Not crying. Not yelling. Controlled. That worried me more. "We need to talk," she said. "We already did." "Not like this," she replied. "In person." I almost said no, then I remembered something important. Boundaries don't mean hiding. They mean choosing where you stand. We met at a cafe halfway between our apartments. Neutral ground, public. She arrived early, already seated. Phone face down like she didn't trust it not to betray her. She looked thinner. Not fragile. Just worn. He moved out. She said the moment I sat down. I waited. He says I didn't protect him. She continued. That I should have stopped you. I stirred my coffee slowly. I wasn't attacking him. You were, she snapped. Then caught herself. Lowered her voice. You knew what this would do. I knew what staying silent would do. I said. I chose differently. She looked at me like she was searching for something familiar. Do you feel powerful now? I considered the question. No, I feel finished. That confused her. She leaned back. Mom thinks you've changed. I have? She says you're cold. I'm clear. She shook her head. You always had to be right. I leaned forward. No. I had to survive. That stopped her. For the first time she didn't interrupt. Didn't deflect. He blamed you for everything, she said quietly. But when things got really bad, he blamed me. I watched her hands tremble slightly around the cup. That's how it works, I said. Once the shield is gone, her eyes filled again. This time she didn't fight it. I don't know who I am without him. I felt something soften then. Not enough to step back. Enough to acknowledge the truth of it. You'll figure it out, I said. But not by asking me to disappear again. She nodded slowly. They want you at Thanksgiving. I didn't answer right away. They say it won't be awkward, she added. Almost pleading. I gave a small, humorless smile. That's never been true. She sighed. If you don't come, they'll say you abandoned us. I met her eyes. They already say that. She flinched. I'm not punishing anyone, I continued. I'm protecting myself. She sat quietly for a long moment. Then, I don't know how to do that. You will, I said. When you're ready to stop trading yourself for approval. She didn't respond. Just nodded once. We parted without a hug. Thanksgiving came and went. I spent it with friends who knew me now, not who I used to be. People who didn't need me to be smaller to feel comfortable. My parents sent a photo of the table. Everyone smiling. My sister's seat empty. I didn't reply. In December, HR forwarded me a request. My sister's husband was contesting his termination. I read the appeal carefully. Line by line. He claimed bias, personal vendetta, family conflict. I wrote my response, just as carefully. Facts only. Dates. Documentation. Process. No emotion. No defense. The board reviewed it. Unanimous decision. Appeal denied. That was the last official connection between us. The final personal one came unexpectedly. My mother showed up at my door. She didn't ask to come in. Just stood there, hands folded, eyes tired. I don't recognize this family anymore, she said. I didn't argue. I keep thinking if you'd just let it go. I finished the sentence for her. Everything would go back to how it was. She nodded. I held the door open but didn't step aside. How it was only worked for some of us. She looked at me then. Really looked. You're serious about this? She swallowed. I hope it was worth it, I paused. Then said, I hope one day you understand it was necessary. She left without another word. That night I sat alone in my apartment. No noise, no tension, just my thoughts and the steady hum of the city outside. I didn't feel victorious. I felt aligned. And for the first time, that felt like enough. January arrived quietly. No dramatic reset, no apology tour. Just distance settling into place. My sister filed for separation mid-month. I heard it through my father, not her. He said it like a weather update. Neutral. Careful. As if tone could soften reality. He's fighting it? Dad added. Says she owes him. I pictured my sister across a table from a man who once promised her everything. Now counting what he thought he was entitled to. I didn't feel satisfaction. I felt inevitability. She called me 2 weeks later. Her voice sounded unfamiliar, lower, slower. I found an apartment. That's good, I said. I start therapy next week. I paused. That's good too. Silence stretched between us. Not hostile, just unpracticed. I reread the text, she said suddenly. The one I sent about the barbecue. I didn't respond. I don't recognize the person who wrote it. She continued. But I know it was me. I let that sit. Accountability only matters when it's not rushed. I'm sorry, she said finally. No qualifiers. No excuses. Just the words. I closed my eyes, not because I was overwhelmed, because I needed a moment to accept that it was real. Thank you, I said. I needed to hear that. She exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for months. I don't expect things to go back. They won't, I said gently. But that doesn't mean there's nothing left. We ended the call without promises. That felt right. My parents adjusted slower. They always had. My mother stopped bringing up the past, but she still avoided naming it. My father stayed distant, polite, careful. I didn't chase either of them. I learned that reconciliation doesn't happen on demand. It happens when people are ready to see clearly. Work stabilized into routine. The floor felt like mine now. Not borrowed. Not provisional. Earned. I stopped flinching when my name carried weight in meetings. I stopped apologizing before I spoke. One afternoon, months later, I passed a park where families were setting up grills. Lauder, folding tables, the smell of charcoal. For a moment the old ache surfaced. Not sharp, just familiar. Then it passed. I realized something standing there. That barbecue had never been about food. It was about permission. Who was allowed to belong without conditions? Who had to earn their place by staying quiet? I no longer negotiate my worth. My sister and I meet occasionally now. Coffee, walks, short conversations that don't dig too deep. Trust rebuilds slowly or not at all. I've made peace with either outcome. My parents come to dinner sometimes. They don't stay late. We talk about safe things. I notice how often my mother watches me, like she's relearning who I am, and I let her. There was no grand revenge. No public downfall. No moment where everyone clapped and admitted I was right. Justice came differently. Through boundaries that held. Through consequences that stuck. Through silence that no longer scared me. The last message I ever received from my former brother-in-law arrived in spring. One sentence. Angry. Predictable. I didn't reply. Some stories end with reconciliation. Others end with distance. Mine ended with ownership. Of my voice. My space. My life. I didn't win anything back. I stopped giving it away. Spring turned into summer before I noticed. Time didn't heal anything on its own. It just gave me room to live without reacting. My sister kept her distance. But it was different now. No tension. No competition. When we spoke, she didn't measure herself against me anymore. She talked about her apartment. Her job. The quiet nights that scared her at first and then didn't. One afternoon she asked, "Do you ever miss it?" Before, I didn't answer right away. We were walking. Side by side, not facing each other. I miss the version of us that didn't require pretending, I said. I don't miss the pretending, she nodded. I think I confused silence with peace. I stopped walking then and looked at her. Most people do, she smiled. Small. Real. I'm trying to learn how not to. That was the closest we came to closure. And it was enough. At work, my name stopped being whispered. It became standard. People came to me directly. Not because they feared me. Because they trusted the consistency. I never raised my voice. Never needed to. Authority, I learned, isn't volume, it's follow-through. One evening, I ran into my father at the grocery store. Just us, no buffer. No witnesses. He looked older than I remembered. Smaller somehow. You seem settled, he said. I am. He hesitated. Your mother still struggles. I know. He nodded slowly. I should have protected you more. The words were quiet, not dramatic, not an apology shaped for forgiveness. But they were real. I needed you to see me, I said. That's all. He swallowed. I see you now. We stood there between the cereal aisle and the freezer section, two adults finally speaking without roles. When we parted, there was no hug, just understanding. That summer I hosted a dinner. Not a barbecue, a small table, 6 chairs. I invited who felt safe, friends, chosen family. People who didn't require explanations. As the night wound down, I stepped onto the balcony and watched the city lights blink on. I thought about the girl I used to be. The one who stayed quiet so others could stay comfortable. The one who answered cruelty with patience and called it love. I don't blame her. She did what she knew. But I don't live there anymore. the story people tell about me and my family has changed. Some say I'm cold. Some say I'm difficult. Some say I chose my career over blood. I don't correct them. The people who matter know the truth. I didn't choose power. I chose honesty. I didn't seek revenge. I accepted consequences. I didn't destroy my family. I stopped sacrificing myself to keep it looking intact. The last time I thought about that text, the one that started everything, I realized something simple. It didn't break me. It exposed what was already broken. And I finally had the courage to stop pretending it was fine.